My guest today is Jerry Barker. He is a member of the Raelian movement. The Raelian movement is a UFO religion. It was started in the 1970s by a man now named Rael, who started life as Claude Raëlian, who was a race car driver and a journalist. He had an encounter in 1973 where he allegedly spoke to the occupants of a UFO, and they gave him a lot of information and about our origins. And over the years, he has built a movement that some call a cult, some call a religion. There was a Netflix documentary in 2024 that dealt with Rael and many of his controversies. They've been involved in human cloning. They've been involved in all kinds of things over the years that have been a kind of a lightning rod for controversy. We'll talk about those things. We'll talk about their beliefs and practices, and we'll talk about how Jerry got into the group. I hope you enjoy. Jerry, how you doing?
Great. Thank you for having me on.
Um, I was interested to talk to you because I've always had a big interest in the contactee movement and in what I guess academics call new religious movements.
Right on.
And the Raelian organization, or what do you actually call it? Do you call it the Raelian movement or
Yeah,
Raelism?
it's the Raelian movement. Yeah,
Okay. And you're representative for the southeast of the United States, correct?
that's right. Yes, I'm the Southeast Regional Guide. Yeah.
Okay. And what I would really want to talk about is like, let's start at the beginning. How did you get there? How did you get into this?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for so much for allowing me to tell my story, man. Well, to tell you the truth, uh, it's around 2010. I was watching the Ancient Aliens program. I don't know if you remember this when
Oh
it
yeah.
came out. And when I was watching the first season of it, I thought, man, this evidence is undeniable. And I thought to myself, I think this is my religion. That I could see that clearly that I thought extraterrestrials had a hand in the creation of life. So I went to the internet and scoured and searched for the ancient astronaut theory, religions based on that. And my Yahoo Google search popped up Rael.org. I went to the website and actually I saw an 8-minute video. It's called Message from the Designers. It's on YouTube. It's the coolest thing. I wish I had remembered to link it here. I'll look it up here shortly. But it's an 8-minute video that describes his contact in a little bit of the message that an extraterrestrial named Yahweh gave to Rael.
Yeah, I'll
And
link that. I'll link that in the comments because I've seen that video before and it's a good introduction to it.
yeah, it had me in tears the very first time that I read it I saw it. I wanted to show and tell everybody about it.
Now,
But then,
did you grow up
pardon?
in a religious environment or?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I was born and raised in Virginia, uh, right about 45 minutes an hour south of Washington D.C. So it's a very deistic area. My parents were Christians, or are Christians. They forced me to go to church all growing up till I was about 14, 15, something like that, and the choice became my own. It didn't really resonate with me, going to church, but I was so thankful to have the opportunity to learn the stories of the Bible. That way, I could relate to it later on when the scientific explanation was given behind those stories. And this is what was told to Rael um, by the extraterrestrial named Yahweh.
Now, let's get into the Rael story a little bit. Now, I've read a little bit about this, but for people who've heard nothing about it, Rael was first off he was I believe he was a race car driver, and I think he had something to do with publishing or something in France. And this is in the 1970s, maybe like the
That's right.
early to mid 70s or something like that.
That's right. So December 13th, 1973 is when he had his contact the very first time with Yahweh. And at that time, he was a race car driver and a magazine publicist. And he had his own magazine that he did race car. It's race talk, something like that
Hmm.
in the race car world. And so he was an owner of that magazine at the time when he had his contact.
And then he went out to I think he was out in the countryside somewhere, and like I
He
think the craft came down like right in front of him,
He was
something like
headed to
that.
work. So he was leaving his home, and he had left his home, and he was headed to work there at the magazine studio. And on his way, he had the feeling to go to a volcano named Puerto La Sola. And he had been there many times before with his family, but on this circumstance, he was on his way to work and just had the feeling that he wanted to go there. And when he got there, he took a nice long walk, and long story short, a craft descended from the sky, almost like a helicopter in a way, with lights flashing, and slowly came down in front of him. A trapdoor opened. Got to see a little man walk out, and this beautiful little man was an extraterrestrial named Yahweh, and he invited Rael into the spacecraft there with him, and they talked for about 1 hour, 6 different times on 6 different occasions. So for 1 hour each day, 6 days in a row. And he
Oh,
gave
six
him the
days in a
message.
row. Okay, I thought it
Hmm.
was just one. Yeah, I thought it was one encounter, but I guess okay.
Yeah. So after the first encounter, they asked him to come back with the Bible and something to take notes with, and then to tell no one, and bring no metallic objects or anything like that, or they'd never see him again. And so
Hmm.
he came back per their request with a notebook, a pen, and the Bible, and began to listen to his guide, who gave him the message for humanity, and he jotted it down in those notes. Um, After his contact there, he had the book published, and excuse me, I'd like to show it to you here. I don't know if it's reversed on your screen, but
Oh no, it's good.
okay, it's Intelligent Design, Message from the Designers. This is a combination of the three of the books that he wrote. And the very first his first encounter in December 13th, 1973, and the 6 days to follow. And
Hmm.
then again, October 7th, 1975, he had a second encounter with him. And he writes all about that fantastic encounter where they actually took him back to their planet for an evening of wonderful technological and fantastic celebration.
Wow.
So in that book, and then another third that he wrote in an update in the late '90s. So there's 3 books combined in here in intelligent design. I recommend to your listeners to go to our website, rael.org, and you can download the books for free. Now, of course, you can
Okay.
purchase the paperback copy.
Hmm.
It's available on Amazon. Of course, they charge us to print that, so it's like $20 or something like that. But if you'd like to go to the website, again, rael.org, and you can download them all for free. But it's
Cool.
not just intelligent design that he wrote. After they had his contact, he wrote several other books I'd like to talk about. Here's one called Geniocracy. And this is where they explain to him about how to organize ourselves politically in a new style of government. Uh, they also explain to him techniques on how from meditation, how to organize the mind and the body,
Hmm.
how to be connected, and we're very disconnected in our world today. There's another one called Yes to Human Cloning. This is Rael's a major advocate for science, the pursuit of science, and the pursuit of cloning, and which is the inevitable tree of life. So I'll let you. I said a little bit there. I'll let you ask some questions,
Yeah,
but
that's a lot.
I wanted to get to the topics on the book. So
Yeah,
there
that's a
you
lot.
are.
That's a lot to unpack. I think, yeah, it's what one thing that fascinates me about Rael is that he's in the tradition, in my opinion, of a lot of the contactees of the 1950s. You know, there were a lot of people, a handful at least, who had contact, and they had very similar experiences where the people that they talked to were very human looking. You know, they weren't like grays, or they weren't, mantis or reptilian or anything like that. They were just sort of very human looking, the occupants of the craft, and they would talk to them about peace and about love and about living life in a more positive way, and that we were on the wrong path. A lot of things about nuclear,
Oh
uh,
yeah,
nuclear
nuclear
aspirations and
disarmament.
things like that. A lot of stuff about um, the environmentalism, basically. That was, and he was sort of in that same vein. And I would say that maybe, possibly, the last person that came along in that. I mean, one might say the last prophet of that. If you
And he
if you were to
claims
call him
that
a prophet,
to be true.
of that type of thing. So, um, but Rael didn't end there. So he got into all these other things, and like you're talking about, like with the cloning,
He
and
was
there's so
given a
many.
mission, not just, there's been contactees over time that have had similar messages, right? Nuclear disarmament, world peace. These are very very simple, very basic, right? But this is the role of a prophet is very different than something like that. The role of a prophet is going to be someone who who's dawned with the responsibility of changing humanity and bringing about this change.
Mm-hmm,
So, in how he brings about this change is he teaches the information that they taught to him while he was with them in the 6 days, or when they went on their planet. He teaches that information at happiness academies. We used to call them seminars over the past 50 years, but
mm-hmm.
now we call them happiness academies. And I personally have been so thankful to be a coordinator of the Happiness Academies here in the United States for the past decade, better than the last decade. And this is the information that's absolutely, um, this is the most important thing. So
So,
breaking down the ego, learning about qualities like humility, humbleness, um, learning about meditation, how to quieten the mind. These are things that to the typical American culture aren't present, at least not in my life. And I
mhm.
didn't really learn about these things until I was exposed to Rael's teachings. And my very first Happiness Academy slash seminar was in 2010, 2011. And you learn so much at these academies, man. It's not easy to put into a few words because there is a lot of different workshops, a lot of different teachings that are happening, and
What
each
is
one is different, and it's taught from a different set of guides at each one. And if I had missed any of them, I would be missing a small part of myself today. So I recommend to your listeners to look for the next Happiness Academy in your country, because we're in 80 different countries. We have the next one coming in the North American continent is going to be I believe, the early spring of 2027. So there's not one here this year.
Well,
But
to back up just a little bit, because
okay,
let's talk about a little bit about what they told him on the first. Now, so he describes them, and you guys, yeah, the nomenclature that you use is the Elohim,
Elohim. Hmm.
Elohim,
Oh,
and
thank
then
you for mentioning that. Hmm.
and that's that's a biblical term or a Hebrew term, right? And it's a plural, because like wasn't like uh a lot of times people think about it as like a term for God, but it's actually a plural. So it's like gods,
Exactly.
basically.
So, one of the most important things that they told him, thank you for bringing this up, is that you may call us the Elohim. All right, and the Elohim means, translated into English, those who came from the sky. Okay,
Okay.
and this is a plural term, not a singular term. And in Bibles, uh, well, this is a Hebrew word as well. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so Bibles that were written after that had made this a singular word, uh, and that is actually Eloha, and that this is in fact a civilization of people, not an individual God, and that there is no God, and that the people that you believe were gods were in fact just people who were mistaken for gods.
Okay. So then they, what was the basic message? Because I know that there's a lot to do with, um, from what I understand, with science, and
There is, yeah, so
so they genetically engineered humans. Is that what you're saying?
that's correct. That's correct. So, let me start at the beginning. All right. The
Mm-hmm.
Elohim are very much like us. All right. They were created by someone who was created by someone who was created by someone who was created by someone. All
Mm-hmm.
right. And then when they got to a time era similar to where we are right now, they performing scientific studies, creating new life artificially with uh, genetic research, cloning, the synthesis of DNA. The government of the world turned against them and said, you can't perform these studies here," and they forced them to leave their planet. And uh, long story short, they discovered the planet Earth, which was a gigantic ball of water at the time, and then terraformed it. And this terraformation was a process that happened over 2,000 years, 2,000 of Earth years. And they started by creating life from the single-celled organism in the oceans, and then
Oh wow.
began
Okay. Back then, all the way back.
beginning perfecting this technique of creating life, then moving to the land, and synthesizing the plants and the ecology and the ecosystem,
Mm-hmm.
and then afterwards the animals, and then the government of their world showed up and put rules on this and said, do not create a human, do not create anything intellectual like yourself, like ourselves. And well, uh, a group of scientists, and in fact, this is the group led by Lucifer. They went against those rules and created human life, um, anyways. Got in trouble. Our history unfolds, but thankfully, so life was created.
Wow. That's really yeah. It's different than what I was expecting, because yeah, I don't know if you've heard about the stories. I just like to compare everybody's stories a lot of times, like it's origin stories and cosmology, from different groups. And, there are groups like, there are some ones that came out of theosophy, which was, the 19th century, um, really what you would call the magic revival, or um, you know, the birth of sort of really the synthesis of Western esotericism, was really in uh, theosophy, which was founded by Helena Blavatsky, as a Russian mystic, and she put forth this. She wrote two humongous books. One was called Isis Unveiled, and then another one was called, name escapes me at the moment. But the essential thing was that prior to Earth, that on Mars, there had been a civilization, and there had been like a like basically human beings, and um, they had destroyed Mars via nuclear war or something like that. And, instead of, because they had destroyed that planet, basically, like all the planets themselves, and I might be making a little bit of a mess of this because I've confused it with other ones because basically, because all the planets are sentient beings themselves, they had, seen the horror of this murder of the planet by these beings, like the humans that had been on Mars. And these beings were basically like, now they're souls, and they're just sort of like, they have no bodies, but they had been allowed by this galactic council of to reincarnate on Earth because Earth had itself volunteered for this and said that, well, you can reincarnate on Earth, but if you reincarnate on Earth, if you do it again, then that's it for you, And this sort of basic structure has been used, it's kind of been carried on by several other groups, and among them were the Aetherius Society, which was a contactee group from the 1950s. It started in the 1940s or 50s, and also Unarius Academy of Science, which is another contactee group that had started in the 1950s, and they had real similar. And a matter of fact, Scientology is very similar to that too. They had similar paths that they had put out. The difference now that I'm seeing with Rael was that there was a bit more hands-on, like creation of all life on the planet. And did they mention anything about Mars or anything about a
They did
past
not,
version?
and, I'm familiar with what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I've read the information from the Galactic Federation. The Elohim don't talk about that at all, okay? And what they give to Rael is very simplistic, all right? There are no details, and when he asks about, some of the details, they basically tell him, "You don't," like, "No, you don't get to know where we are," and things like that.
Need to know
Um
basis. I would say.
Exactly. So really everything that's told to him is very basic, and this is purposeful. All right. So there are many details in the depths of the internet that you can find, and I was lucky enough to learn about a lot of these things by joining you at your UFO festival, and
Mm-hmm.
that brought some of this information to me, which is interesting to learn and wonderful to know. But in this reality, in this moment, what is important? What to me, knowledge of the intergalactic workings of things. That's fun. That's like watching a television program unfold. But really the work that needs to be done here on the planet is physical, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in the physical, when I say physical, as in we require action, and this action is really a reprogramming of the original brainwash that we were given from, let's say, our parents, our culture, our religions, our philosophies, our schools, our governments, all of these things. So there's a physical work that needs to happen here on the planet, as far as working on yourself and doing the discipline work. All of
Mm-hmm.
these things, getting your diet right, getting your vibrational frequency in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
These things are the bridge between us and the Elohim. Vibrationally, we won't meet anyone extraterrestrial if we stay at the density level of which we have been. So the bridging that gap is elevating ourselves, okay? Learning how to control the mind, learning about telepathy, learning that this is a possibility for every single human being, gaining control of this faculty, all right?
Yeah.
And learning to quiet the mind. And this is where we have decades and years to learn these faculties. But these are some of the things that they teach to recommend for us to do. Not and so really the Raelian movement doesn't have to do with galactic workings or the gossip of what goes on, but
Mm-hmm.
more so with the what needs to be done here right now.
Right.
And the things that need to be done here right now are things like uh, the demystification of God. There is no people to learn that they've been controlled by this idea that there is a God, and that they need to know that there isn't one. There's
Well, I got one more question, like about the sort of the cosmology or the origin story that before we move into like the more pertinent.
his actions that we do. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the what when you said that they were created, okay, so the Elohim were created by someone or something, and then that was created by someone or something, and then there's this sort of line. So is that like an infinite regression, or is there
It's an
what
infinite cycle.
do they not have any sort of like what's at the end of that? You know?
No, because in that in the ideal of infinity, there is no end to that. There is no beginning to it either.
Mm,
And so so okay, that's a very good thing to lead into. They give us this symbol here. I don't know if
mm-hmm,
you can see it very well in the
mm-hmm,
camera. And this is a Star of David intertwined with a swastika, and
mm-hmm,
this represents infinity in time and space. And the Star of David has a equal sized triangle pointing downward and also one pointing upward. And
mm-hmm,
this represents the infinitely small within the triangle down, the infinitely small within us. And then the upward is the infinitely large, of which we are within.
mm-hmm.
And this is the infinite cycle here. Okay, so the explanation that we are literally um, parasites living off of a living cell, an organism alive. The earth itself is a living thing, and
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that
Mm-hmm. Like
earlier
the
there.
Gaia hypothesis type of thing.
And that within every cell of our body, an infinite number of worlds exist at the microscopic level. So if we were to zoom
So you
into a
see it,
skin
you see it
cell,
as a microcosm, macrocosm type of thing. Is that what
micro
you're saying?
over and over, infinitely smaller and smaller and smaller, we can go into the cell of my finger and see the planets and
Oh
stars
yeah.
that make that system up work, and then we can zoom in even further into one of the planets within there and see someone potentially standing there holding their finger up pointing to the
Mm-hmm.
sky.
So
And then
for
we
the
could go into that finger and then
so
the
I guess
next
we should talk about the swastika then. So for the Raelian people, the swastika was that represent time, or is that what is that the aspect
yeah,
of it that's represented?
in infinity
Like the sort
in
of
space.
wheel of time or something like that.
Yeah, so in yeah, exactly. So many people have the idea of that the swastika is bad, and in fact this is incredibly wrong. The swastika has been a symbol of well-being and good fortune, good luck, all throughout our history.
Yeah, I
Only a
mean it's
very
in
short
pretty much every culture all over the
every
world, really.
single culture, the Native American, Buddhist, Hindu, Indian, there every culture um, has had this as a part of it, and only from the late 30s to the mid 40s did it have a 10-15 year span
Mm,
did it create this stigma. And then we were educated to see this symbol as a horror,
mm,
in which the murders that were done by Hitler were absolutely terrible, but also are the murders that were done under the Christian cross.
mhm.
And you don't hold the symbol
I guess the
as the victim.
controversial part is that the swastika is within a Star of David, so then that's what people see as a you know because
Yeah, a controversy. It's a
yeah,
very good controversy, of course, considering the time that we're living in. But this symbol is a symbol that they use themselves, and in fact, any civilization that uses this symbol has recognized the infinite nature of our existence, and that they have technologically progressed far enough to understand infinity. And I would, I don't know this for sure, but I would say it's likely very purposeful that these symbols were used by Israel and potentially by the Nazis as well, because this is very much like a filter. And in this time era, okay, if you can't see through the filter of this symbol, then you won't be capable of helping the final prophet to fulfill his mission.
So yeah, I know that getting to some of the more terrestrial things with the Raelian movement, I know that like there was a push to have an embassy built, and the embassy was supposed to be in Israel, right?
They asked, says the Elohim asked for the third temple, okay, to be built in Israel. And Rael has made requests to the lead rabbis several times, and in fact, the last time that they made a request for a piece of land that has extra or territorial status, like a diplomatic status, they did not give it to him or us, but the lead rabbi did say, recommend not to do anything against Rael. And this is huge. So the Elohim wished for it to be there in Israel. They refused it. Some years back, the Elohim released this as a requirement and said that it could be in another place in a warm environment.
Why did they refuse it in Israel? Was it because of the symbol? Was it was there other reason? Or?
Well, I don't know the full reason why they say no. I imagine there's a lot laundry list of things, but I don't exactly know the.
That was a while back, I believe. What?
Yeah, it was years ago,
like the 80s or something.
But since then, there has been a competition of what country will hold this embassy. Just imagine the future economic situation for whatever country holds this embassy. This is literally the future of the planet. And so there has been a bid war going down to where this embassy will be.
Where do they think it's going to be now? Is it Rael's in Japan now, right?
Yes,
he lives
but
there.
They've not said exactly where it's going to be yet. They did reveal this year that that a country has been chosen, and that they're in full diplomatic relationships with, and it can be a go. But he is still, to my understanding, holding out for Israel as the possibility, as the main possibility. And why is that? You might ask yourself. Well, I think to myself, man, if Israel doesn't become peaceful, I don't think the hokey pokey works out. You see what I'm saying? So if I think the Israeli people have to become peaceful themselves. And I'll reveal this here on your podcast. In the messages, it said that the Jewish people are the direct descendants of the Elohim here on this planet. That the men and women of the Elohim had sexual relationships with the early humans. And the descendants of these children are the Jewish people. And I also should say that the people that reside currently in Israel have been said to not actually be the descendants. That is more than likely the Palestinians in that area that are actually the descendants.
Oh, really?
But
so and Rael and the organization, the movement, have been involved in a lot of different things over the years, and it's no shortage of controversy. Of course, the swastika thing is a controversial thing. But then there's been so many more, and there's been like I saw a couple of years ago, I saw that hit piece sort of like documentary that came out that was all negative, and
The
but
Netflix documentary.
yeah, but
Well,
and
this
it,
is, in fact, this is wonderful for our
I mean,
organization.
any press is good press,
Right,
but at the
exactly.
same time, it was like, it was negatively framed, and it was like really kind of trying to portray the Raelian movement as a cult, as opposed to like a religion, or as opposed to
Oh,
a
yeah.
belief system. I don't know if you want to call yourself a religion because
Yeah,
you
sure.
you
Well, the
know
thing is, I understand, like, I watch a lot of Netflix, right? I mean, I watch I've got a lot of different programs. Netflix loves to do this, to create these culty, like
uh,
documentaries, and create an image that sells. It's
uh,
almost like sex sells. Well, it's almost like cult sells in
yeah,
some facets. And anyway,
but
he knew he
there's
had
always those
he
ones.
knew well enough ahead of time that they were going to try to do that.
Yeah,
But the amount of positive publicity that we get for the people that recognize
yeah,
the truth in it, and not seeing it just for the lies.
true.
And anyone that has been around and a part of our organization right away can know that these are lies that are being perpetrated.
No, I think
And in fact, there's actually been legal action taken since then. There was an email in my email chain today about some of the wonderful news in that regard. I think the defamation case, I think he won.
yeah.
So this is crap people do, right? Like, this is I'm recently hearing things about Michael Jackson, right? I've always loved this guy. I've always felt
Uh-huh,
him to be my, like a most lovely person. But they tried to ruin him with the child sex abuse thing, right?
uh-huh.
And I could always feel this guy wasn't committing these crimes. And
I never,
now
yeah.
it was coming out that he was saving kids from the Epstein Island.
Oh, really?
And then
Really? I
they've
didn't
been
see that.
Oh, yeah, and, there's a huge there was so many children that he saved from that island, and Ep Epstein refers to him, I think 80 something times in the files as, like the intruder, or
Oh, really?
the blocker. Like, basically, he was blocking these children from
Oh,
becoming a victim.
that's
And that
interesting.
was
Yeah.
what his Neverland was. And there was, in fact,
Uh-huh.
he was not trafficking, he was bringing them back there and getting them out underground back through
No,
Neverland.
I hadn't heard of any of
Uh,
that. But
so
when all that
this is
happened,
the guy doing wonderful things that the public, the people that own the media, have turned him into you
monster.
know,
Yeah.
a
See,
monster.
I never
But in
thought of
fact,
Michael Jackson.
he's a savior.
I never thought of him
They've
that
done the
way.
same thing to Rael,
I
and
remember.
at the UFO
I remember when all
festival,
that
you'll
stuff.
remember.
I remember when all that stuff came out about Michael Jackson, and all these different accusations and things. And to me, it just seemed kind of.
Accusation.
To me, it seemed like I never believed it, because to me it seemed like he struck me as being a person who had zero interest in sex. That like he was like a child. He
Asexual
was like a
type.
child himself. And he was like
Uh-huh.
stuck in this sort of child mind. And I remember hearing a story about him where they said that he went out with I think it was Tatum O'Neal, the actress, back when he was. This is like before Thriller, but like around the time of like what was that record that he had? Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. That record. And
Come on.
and he went out with with Tatum O'Neal, and she told the story and said that she went back to his house with him, and that she like sat down on his bed with him and tried to make out with him or do something
It's just time to
sexual,
play.
and he just like locked up and just didn't know what to do, and was really like, it stressed him out real bad. And
Oh,
and he just seemed like such a, sort of a
more like a
gentle and
childlike state. I don't know,
average
you know what I
person.
mean? I don't know, but I do feel that, you know what I'm saying? I'm like a child myself. As a matter of fact, I hope to never grow up, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
mine. every aspect of my life, I wish to view it through the childlike lens.
Hmm.
And I love that about Michael, man. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah, I
something
like that about him
that I
too.
admire.
And
And Maitreya is very much the same way. Rael, that is,
hmm
and he's he's wonderfully like a child and teaching me to be to be like that, and all of us, and he's become a victim of these these organizations that the information that he says is contrary to. So I can imagine the Catholic Church feeling pretty hurt when he says there is no God,
hmm
right? And then so the people that feel attacked in that create um they create an issue to make themselves feel some kind of way about it. But I'm not saying as a Catholic, I don't know
yeah,
who creates these things, but they've
he
given him a
seems
bad image purposefully, and that is to slow down the progression of humanity. And thankfully, they cannot stop humanity's evolution at this point. And the avalanche has begun. All right, he has connected with enough people. There are enough people on this, let's say, idea that extraterrestrials exist and that they had something to do with the creation here on Earth. Well,
mm,
that idea has come so manifestively strong that you can't stop it at this point.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's embedded in pop culture now, really. But like, one of the things I like about Rael, and or I think at least find interesting, is that he's not a stranger to controversy, and he's not afraid of controversy, and he's really like,
I don't know.
and a lot of the things that he's done are very controversial things. Some of the things, like the Netflix documentary, they tried to kind of like portray it as like there was some sort of like, you know, um, like it was like or it was like sort of like misogynistic or something like that.
Yeah.
But then you have like,
It was all a perception, you know what I mean? You just
right,
view from an angle.
but
And
then
I
you have
remember they tried to make it look like he was a bit of an asshole speaking to the girls inappropriately or
yeah,
something like that, or just trying to be like you turn the camera on when you say one word, turn the camera off when you say the other word, and then you
yeah.
can portray someone to seem
Oh well, it's
different or like worse
the
than what
power of
they really
editing.
are.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
power of
exactly.
editing.
So they portray him in that way,
But
and
the
uh, I pretty, like I'm a human. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a human. We're all human, so we all lash out when we get aggravated too. Like,
hmm
so if you put a camera on me all the time, you're going to find some circumstances where
oh
I
yeah,
lost my cool, right? You know what I'm saying?
for sure.
Especially when I'm with my partner,
hmm
someone I feel comfortable with, someone that I know that I can
Yeah.
act out in such a way without like major reaction or a
hmm
public shaming going down, right? So I see stuff like this in the portrayed to him in the Netflix documentary, but I see that in myself as an opportunity just to be better as myself. And
Well,
as I
one.
know him that he's always working on himself, I know he's always wanting to be more loving and more kind, and probably even seeing himself displayed wrongly in that way,
hmm
probably even still made him want to be even kinder, because this is the person that he is. He
Sees
doesn't
he.
want to be.
So he sees
Uh,
himself as a work in progress, just like the rest of us. Then, right?
I hope so. Yes, I hope so.
Well, then, one of the things that I thought that was like, that just really, because they mentioned they went through great lengths to try to make it look like he was this sort of misogynist, sexual, chauvinist and all this stuff, but
Which
then
is, yeah, not true at all.
they didn't mention anything about the hospital that they built in Africa that was rehabilitating women after having that genital mutilation done to them and stuff there, which was,
Yes,
and I know that the African, what country was it in? The government shut that down or something, but they had,
Burkina Faso.
yeah, but they had done a bunch of surgeries, like reconstructive surgeries on women who had had this horrible mutilation done to them, and then uh, the your organization went in there and built a full on hospital, and they started helping all these people, and then the government somehow shut it down there because they
Yeah.
they don't want
So
these
there's
people
an
to have.
organization that Rael started called Clitorade. All right.
Yeah.
This is a foundation to help women who are victims of female genital mutilation.
Mm.
And this is such an amazing thing, man. A lot of people have some type of mental issue with sexuality and pleasure, and that it's taboo. There's nothing more natural than our sexuality and our pleasure. And then for someone to have been horrifically cut with a razor to remove this at a
Unbelievable.
teenage age, this is a horrifying thing that I just want to like close my eyes and think this doesn't exist in this reality, right? But
Hmm.
it does. And no one does anything about it. No one except for no, I wouldn't say no one. I don't know. But I don't know anyone else doing anything about it
Hmm.
except for Rael. He's strong enough to stand against these people who say that this is taboo to talk about or to even bring about a change in. And he created this foundation, Clitorade. And I was a part of this in its infancy and helped to raise funding, okay, and fly these women from and it's in the beginning they would fly women that signed up for this would fly from Africa here to the United States or Canada, have the restorative surgery done, have aftercare paid for and taken care of, and then fly them back home. And this was all done and paid for by Clitorade and the fundraising that people, volunteers like myself, did by calling, uh, you know, uh, gynecologist after gynecologist and financier by financier to help to pay for this. And then eventually this snowballed into what we call a pleasure hospital. And we took that financing and began to create a state-of-the-art facility in Africa to and had our doctors who had been trained on this procedure training local doctors to perform this restorative procedure. Oh, and even had the president's wife stand in to speak at the opening of this hospital. And just before the influence of the was laid down on the government to not allow this building to open and to close it down and to remove the licenses of the doctors that were performing the procedures and to remove the visas of the doctors that from the United States and Canada that were there to teach and perform.
Wow.
So this
That's.
is a crime against humanity of the
Hmm.
worst, the worst type, man. If we're hearing about some sick stuff in the Epstein files, right? We're hearing about
Hmm.
that, and people are like, "Oh, this can't be real." Well, let me tell you what is real. All right, women in Africa are being mutilated daily in 2026. And this is something that deserves an incredible amount of attention.
Yeah, you don't hear
And
anything about it. I mean,
someone like
yeah.
Rael was bringing this to light. And when people attack him for a misogynistic way for helping others to come about bring pleasure back into their lives, this is a wrong thing, man.
Yeah, I
So
feel like.
thank you for bringing that up. That's a super important aspect. One of the major fine points in the organization. And I'd like to touch just a couple more things because we're getting long winded in the show.
That's all right.
But I just want to talk about his 1 minute for peace campaign.
Okay.
Uh, I don't know if I can put it in the chat here again, but so when the world's energy is being affected by war and and in the I guess the terrible things that are going on, Rael has us perform a world peace meditation.
Okay.
And we've been doing this on Monday nights for years, years and years. I'm not even exactly sure when it began now. We've been doing it so long. But for example, right now we're doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday night of every of during the week at 8:55 p.m. Eastern time. And
Okay.
this is to help counteract the negativity of the war, the energetic feeling that brings this sullenness to the planet. This brings the vibe of the earth down, and brings us further away from peace. And there's actually such a thing as a study done in the 80s. It's called the 100th monkey effect. And there was scientists in Japan that took a certain number of monkeys and began to have them wash their food, wash the potato before they ate it.
Mm-hmm.
And this was they taught this to just a couple monkeys, and then the next monkey taught the next, and that taught the next, and taught the next, and next thing you know, on this side of the island, 100 monkeys were washing their food before they ate.
Mm-hmm.
After 100 monkeys on the other side of the island, monkeys started washing their food before they ate, who had no
Yeah.
contact at all whatsoever with the original set of monkeys.
Yeah, I've
And
heard
what this
about that.
suggests
Yeah.
is that our telepathic influence can influence the people on the other side of the planet just by radiating one feeling together at one time. And so this is a scientific evidence of the proof that what we are doing does help, and how important this action is. And I asked your listeners to go and join us at 1minuteforpeace.org.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, William.
Well, Jerry, I appreciate you joining me tonight and to talk to him. And we'll see you soon.
Well, thank you so much, and I'll be happy to come back on again, and I'll look forward to your invite.
All right. And I'm going to